Welcome to this week's edition of the Comic Hero Show. I'm your host Victor Dudley, and I am the Comic Hero. On this episode, I'm going to raise awareness of domestic violence. Now, domestic violence is the most unreported crime in the world, and it shouldn't even happen. I mean, if you're with someone, you love them for better or for worse, and when the worst comes, that doesn't mean act a fool and then start being controlling and stuff. It means just work it out. Because it takes two for any kind of relationship, whether it be dating, an engagement, or marriage, to work things out. It's not one-sided. It has to be between. And I personally know some survivors of domestic violence. I even know some victims. And, you know, my hearts go out to all the survivors, because whenever a person who is on the receiving end, and because a lot of folks on the receiving end of domestic violence, you know, the pain and just never goes away, and I hate that. And my thoughts and prayers also go out to the families of the victims of the senseless act of violence. There's just no excuse for it at all. None. Alright, it's time to give away a free t-shirt. Alright, last week's episode I asked, what is Gwenpool's real name? Well, the correct answer is Gwendolyn Poole. That's right, folks. Gwendolyn Poole. Now, Gwenpool just came on the scene a few years ago. Not a lot of folks know who she is, but she is currently a member of the West Coast Avengers. And at one point, she was also a member of the Champions, but then that didn't really last very long. Right, well, 7 people answered correctly, and because they've answered correctly, their names have been entered in a drawing for a free tee. And that drawing takes place right now. So, the winner of the free tee for this week's episode of the show is Mark Patterson. Now, this is someone who answered the question on the Cosplay de Louisiane Facebook page. So, congratulations, Mark. You win yourself a free Comic Hero tee. All right. Here's the question for next week's episode, and this is a DC question. Which Teen Titan was also a member of the Doom Patrol? Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in the drawing for a free tee in next week's episode of the show. So, I gotta ask, any questions?
Questions I walk around in. Questions I didn't thrive in. Questions I will survive in. Questions.
Alright, I have 2 questions for this week, and the first question is from April Hooks from Camden, Arkansas. She asked, what is one comic you would like to see made into a movie? Well, April, here's the thing. There have been a lot of movies, a lot of comic books that have been made into movies for forever. I mean, even before the first X-Men movie came out for Marvel back in 2000. I mean, you have to... I mean, Superman's been done several times. I mean, notably the best one had to be the one back in 1978 when Christopher Reeve played the role, and it was directed by Richard Donner. Then the Batman movies that were directed by Tim Burton. And then I could go on and on. I mean, a lot of comic book characters, a lot of comic books have been made into movies. I mean, even that awful Howard the Duck movie from 1986, but I'm not going to get into that. What Marvel character that I have yet to see, either on the big or small screen, that I would love to see? She-Hulk. Now, of course, She-Hulk is the cousin of the Hulk, Bruce Banner. Never been on... The only time we've ever seen She-Hulk on the small screen was in the Incredible Hulk animated series from 1982, and then the Incredible Hulk animated series that ran from 1996 to 1998. But we have never seen her in a movie. I would love to see that. Now, would Bruce Banner have to be involved? Well, in the comics, Bruce Banner was the main reason she became She-Hulk, because someone in the comics, somebody came in and broke into her house and shot her, and she had lost a lot of blood, and the only way for Banner to save her was to give her some of his blood. Now keep in mind, his blood's already gamma radiated, and so he did it. He did it anyway, and then she turned green. She became ripped, and she became She-Hulk. I don't know if, now knowing Marvel, if they do ever come out with a She-Hulk movie, I'm quite sure they're not going to write it that way per se. They may try to come up with some other way, try to retell her origin, if you will. But She-Hulk, I would definitely love to see her in a movie. I mean, She-Hulk has been one of my favorite, not just one of my favorite female comic book characters, but one of my favorite characters. Because this is a woman. I mean, one thing about her, she has a lot more control over the gamma radiation in her DNA than Banner does, which is what makes her a great character. I mean, she has the control that Banner doesn't. And I mean, she can be tall, green, muscular, and then still be a lawyer, in your face in court. I mean, and then she could be a lawyer, and then she could go and kick your butt. I mean, what's not to like? But definitely She-Hulk. All right, let me get to this other question. Like I said, I have two of them, and both of them were read. Both of them are from two different outlets. April asked me on Instagram, and this next question is from Robert Freeman from Westboro, Louisiana. Says here, with both Luke Cage and Iron Fist being canceled, do you think Marvel is going to bring the TV characters into the movie universe? And if so, what do you think that will mean for the remaining shows? Or do you think that they will be back with new seasons once the Disney streaming service launches? Well, Robert, it's funny you mention that, because Luke Cage being canceled is my only topic in the Comically Speaking segment. So I'm going to answer your question. I'm going to save your question for that segment. All right, that's it for any questions. If you have any questions you want to ask, contact info is down there. And if you're watching this from any social media site, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Tumblr, please comment down below. All right, now D'Angelo Blue from Youngstown, Ohio has requested a Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown fight, and this one features a comic book character against a video game character. Representing Marvel, we have Doctor Strange. And representing Samurai Soja, we have Amakusa. Excuse me. These two are going to duke it out in a segment I like to call
The Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown.
Welcome to the Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown. Today, it's Doctor Strange versus Amakusa. Doctor Strange is a practicing magician who draws his powers from mystical entities such as Agamotto, Cyttorak, Icon, Ashtor, Rogador, and Watum, who lend their energies for spells. Strange also wields mystical artifacts including the Cloak of Levitation, which enables him to fly, the Eye of Agamotto, an amulet whose light is used to negate evil magic, the Book of the Vishanti, a grimoire which contains vast knowledge of white magic, and the Orb of Agamotto, a crystal ball which is used for clairvoyance. In addition to his magical abilities, Strange is trained in several martial arts disciplines including Judo, and has shown proficiency with numerous magically conjured weapons including swords and axes. Amakusa possesses teleportation, levitation, multiple attacks, and fire projection. Who will win? Amakusa thinks he has his fight in a bag, but that's where he's wrong. He uses his entire arsenal of powers on Strange, but the latter blocks them all. Amakusa then teleports behind Strange in order to deliver a cheap shot,
but Strange elbows him in the face. Strange then goes on offense and uses the Eye of Agamotto to negate Amakusa's magic. Angered by this, the latter attempts a savant kick to Strange. However, the latter catches his foot and ends the fight with a lethal heart punch. Doctor Strange wins, and that concludes this fight on the Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown.
Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed that fight. If you have fight requests for future episodes, contact info is down there. Alright, it's time for Comically Speaking, so without further ado, let's talk comics! Did I say there was going to be one thing that I was going to talk about? Make that two. Okay, there are going to be two things I'm going to talk about. They're both Marvel related. The first one is what Robert Friedman was asking in the Comically Speaking segment, and that's about the cancellation of Luke Cage. Of course, y'all heard by now that Netflix has announced that there will not be a third season of Marvel's Luke Cage. They had cited that it was a combination of both different creative differences between the company Netflix and then the cast and crew of the show, and then also lack of viewership. I honestly don't think that. Now, according to some of the cast and crew, they really didn't see it coming. So that kind of leads me to believe that Netflix just didn't really promote it very well. And when you think about it, they never promoted any of the Marvel-related shows that have been on there. Whether it be Luke Cage, whether it be Iron Fist, whether it be Daredevil, whether it be Jessica Jones, and even even the Defenders. My thing is, if you have a show that's on your network, whether it be whether it be national television or online streaming, you need to promote it. You need to promote the heck out of it. And Netflix really didn't do a good job of that. But Robert, to answer one part of your question, do I think that some of them are going to be in some of the movies? I don't see why not. The one thing about the Marvel universe that kind of differs from the DC universe, they don't alienate any non-comic reading viewers. They make it one big universe, and not like one universe after one universe after one universe like they do with DC and Warner Brothers. Marvel is just one huge universe, and the TV, what you see on the small screen is what you see on. I mean, you see some of the lower tier characters on the small screen and the big tier characters on the big screen, and that's the only difference. Now, you also asked, do you think that the forthcoming Disney online streaming network is going to revive these shows? I hope so, because Disney owns the rights to Marvel, and you can't tell me that because they don't because you can't tell me that they're not going to try. You can't tell me that they're not going to try it. And let me tell you, if they do, they will succeed. And Netflix will be eating all kinds of crow. But I just want to conclude that topic by saying shame on you, Netflix. You didn't promote very well. And once Disney gets a hold of it, when they get this online streaming network launched, you're going to wish you had. Alright, now the second thing, and I just found out about this a few days ago. Now the next Avengers movie, which is slated to come out next year, Gwyneth Paltrow will be reprising her role as Pepper Potts. But And here's the awesome thing. Not only will she be Pepper Potts, she's also going to have her own suit of armor called Rescue. Now, for those of y'all that read Iron Man, or have been reading Iron Man for the past few years, Rescue was also the suit of armor that Pepper Potts wore. Tony Stark made it for her in case of an emergency, but then over time she just used it. She just used it on her own, and it was never really it wasn't in a case of emergency break glass scenario. It's just whenever it suited her. There have been photos that have surfaced of Pepper Potts being in the armor, and I want you to take a look of this right now. That looks pretty cool, doesn't it? I tell you, this is one more reason that I can't wait for the next Avengers movie to come out. I mean, mostly what a lot of folks are really looking forward to, there are two other things, is that this is going to be Chris Evans' last Marvel movie, is Captain America. After this, he's hanging it up. And then also Captain Marvel, which reminds me, Captain Marvel will be in theaters sometime next year for Marvel, right before the Avengers movie. It's going to be an origin story. It's going to star Brie Larson as the lead character, and then it's also going to have Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury with both eyes. Then Jude Law as Marvel. I mean, I'm really excited about both these movies, but especially, with the Avengers movie coming up, and Gwyneth Paltrow is going to be Rescue. So awesome. Alright, that's it for Comically Speaking. Now then, let's get to the comics I bought this week. Alright, first up is Astonishing X-Men number 16. Batman number 57. Green Lanterns number 57. This is the last issue. Justice League number 10. Teen Titans number 23. Justice League Dark number 4. The Life of Captain Marvel number 4. Thor number 6. And finally, Aquaman number 41. Alright, that's 9, which brings the total number of comics that I bought since December of 1997 to 8,976. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Here's the question again for a free tee for next week's episode of the show. Which Teen Titan was also a member of the Doom Patrol? Everyone who answers correctly will be entered a drawing for a free tee in next week's episode of the show. And congratulations to Mark Patterson, who won a free tee in this week's episode. Alright, I'm 24 away from 9,000 comics, folks. 24. It's coming. Now, I can guarantee you that it's probably not going to be in the next episode of the show. I honestly don't know. I mean, I'm trying to stretch it out so I can get out of this month without getting to it. But it's coming. Oh, and one last thing. This coming Saturday, over at Villains Comics and Collectibles in Monroe, they're gonna have their first annual Spooky Saturday. This is gonna be a Halloween event. It's gonna be a lot of fun. The Batmobile is gonna be there. The Jeep from Jurassic Park is gonna be there. Gonna be some live music. Then free comic books are gonna be given away. I mean the works. It's gonna be. I mean it's gonna be lit. I can tell you that right now. And I've been invited by the owners, and they were really gracious to me when I did the Comic Hero Show Extra last month. And I can't wait to go back. Definitely can't wait to go back. Now, you know, domestic violence doesn't need to ever happen. It just doesn't. I mean, what does a person have to gain from being controlling over their significant other? Because honestly, I don't think they have anything to gain. I mean, if you're in a relationship, and I mean, if he or she says something that upsets you, don't hurt them. If they come home late, don't hurt them. I mean, no, it doesn't matter what the scenario is. Do not hurt them, because you may think that you're making things better, you're only making things worse. I mean, domestic violence, I mean, it's wrong for anyone to physically hurt someone. I mean, for any reason. There's absolutely nothing that can justify wanting to hurt your significant other. And here's the thing about domestic violence. I mean, if you happen to see an act of domestic violence, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. I mean, there's nothing wrong with you going to the authorities and reporting it, because domestic violence is a crime. Now, there have been instances where there have been police officers where folks have gone to police officers and said, I didn't see it, therefore it's hearsay. That's a very irresponsible thing for a police officer to say. If a person reports domestic violence to you, you need to take it seriously. This is a person's life we're talking about. And any police officer who thinks that's hearsay, they need to have their badge taken away from them. They don't deserve to be a police officer at all. They don't deserve to be in any police department anywhere in the civilized world. Because when you do that, you're risking the life of you're risking someone else's life. I mean, we as human beings, we need to start being a lot more responsible. If we see something, if you see something, don't try to intervene. Don't dare try to intervene, because you could be risking your own life. But if you go to a police officer and they go and investigate, you're saving a life. All right, I'm Victor Dudley on the Comic Hero. I'll see you in a few days over at Villains Comics and Collectibles, and next week for episode 235. So until then, be safe, be blessed, be a hero.